The 1985 Frankfurt Motor Show saw Mercedes premiere its 4MATIC all-wheel drive in an E-Class T model. 4MATIC is still going strong today, and with its inclusion in the GLA, it's also made the leap into the compact segment. And it's not just off-road that all-wheel drive can come in handy. You're overtaking and suddenly there's a puddle or some leaves. That's where single-axle drive has a problem getting the power to the road, which means it takes you longer to overtake. In cases like that, all-wheel drive means added safety. But normally, it's only needed on really slippery terrain, such as snow. 4MATIC is designed to respond automatically to conditions without the driver doing anything. The aim is to combine the benefits of all-wheel with those of single-axle drive. The GLA normally runs on front-wheel drive, explains Mercedes engineer Jürgen Lang, but we have the option of shifting a large amount of the torque to the rear wheels, up to 100%. The result is optimized distribution of power to the axles and the best possible performance and handling. Drivers used to have to decide whether to switch to all-wheel drive manually. Now they can just enjoy the ride, while still being very safe should something unexpected happen. Drivers often forget that they have all-wheel drive, explains Mercedes safety expert Michael Weikopf, except that 4MATIC really does push you forward. There's no uncomfortable surprise for the driver when it engages. In the CLA, A-Class, GLA, and so on, there's a dual-clutch transmission. There's a multi-plate slip differential that engages when we need it. Up to that point, it's front-wheel drive, so it's an interesting constellation. If the front wheels lose traction, the rear wheels kick in. So even snow-covered roads are no problem. Only the top-of-the-range editions of the gasoline version can be fitted with 4MATIC. Our test car lists for nearly 44,000 euros in Germany. 4MATIC minimizes the risk of understeering, going off the road, or sliding into oncoming traffic. It's ideal for people who really face tricky road conditions on a regular basis. The GLA with 4MATIC on board will get you where you want to go, fast, but there are drawbacks. Drivers do have to watch their speed because of all-wheel drive, explains the safety expert. You'll reach a curve far faster than with single-axle power. That means you have a higher speed to come down from in time, so the driver has to look and think ahead when driving, as others ought to as well. But with all-wheel drive systems, you'll hardly notice how much better the car shifts. On the other hand, of course, it's safer having all-wheel drive. You can take evasive action faster if there's a steep incline or slippery conditions. Having power on two axles also means extra weight, however. In this case, 50 kilos more. When it comes to the environment, every gram counts, because more weight means more emissions, right? Yes, that used to be a justified concern, but not so much anymore. Now with compact cars like this one, we've reduced the extra fuel consumption attributable to the all-wheel system. It's now equivalent to loading the trunk. In the specific example of the GLA 250, the extra fuel is around 0.6 liters per 100 kilometers. All-wheel means more fuel consumption, so it's certainly worth considering before buying whether you really need all-wheel drive, or whether you can make do with a single-axle option, because then you can save money on the purchase and running costs. We're in California, a place that's very open to new eco-friendly technologies to find out about the future of fuel cells. The idea of using hydrogen to power cars isn't new. Volkswagen has been working on fuel cell vehicles for over a decade. Now the VW Group is presenting two research vehicles that could soon be ready for volume production, the Passat HyMotion and the Audi A7 H-Tron. Klaus Nietzwitz checks out the Passat HyMotion first. He finds driving this hydrogen-powered vehicle to be very relaxing. As Americans put it, it's very quiet and powerful. The Passat HyMotion can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 10 seconds. The car is based on Volkswagen's modular transverse matrix platform, making it possible for the engine to be fitted into the firm's other models, such as the Golf. The HyMotion runs on electric power. Thanks to its modular construction, its drive components can be found as usual in the engine compartment. The HyMotion fuel cell drive generates the electricity to power the electric motor from hydrogen and oxygen. The combination triggers a chemical reaction whose products are electricity and water. But how safe is the technology? Many drivers still have concerns about hydrogen-powered vehicles, but there's no need to worry, says Klaus. Modern hydrogen tanks are made of carbon fiber, a high-strength and time-tested material that's used in Formula One. It's much safer than a regular gas tank made of sheet metal. The hydrogen tanks are found in the car's underbody, so they don't take any space in the interior. An additional high-voltage battery stores the electricity generated. During startup and acceleration, the battery and fuel cell work together to drive the powertrain. With its three-phase motor, the HyMotion features a high-performance drive system, like all of Volkswagen's e-cars. Audi has put the fuel cell technology jointly developed with VW into an A7 dubbed the H-Tron. The H comes from the chemical symbol for hydrogen. On the outside, the A7 H-Tron looks like a regular series production model. As with the Passat HyMotion, the fuel cell is found under the hood. Because the car only emits water vapor, its exhaust pipe is made from plastic. This helps reduce the vehicle's weight. The fuel cell used in the Audi A7 is identical to the one in the Passat, but the A7 has a slightly larger battery, which increases the combined output to 170 kilowatts, or around 220 horsepower. The A7 H-Tron's performance is more than respectable. It sprints from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 7.9 seconds and can reach a top speed of 180 kilometers per hour. You might think that this hydrogen-powered vehicle is so chock full of technology and electronics that there'd be no space for the Audi's Quattro four-wheel drive system. But that's not so, says Klaus. The fuel cell supplies power to the electric motor that drives the front axle. The battery stored in the trunk runs a second electric motor providing power to the rear axle. So there's no mechanical connection between the front and rear axles. But that's not all. The A7 H-Tron can also run on straight electricity. Unlike the Passat, the A7 can be charged using an electrical cable. The car has an all-electric range of 50 kilometers, which is an advantage for city driving and saves on fuel, in this case, hydrogen. Instead of a rev counter, the H-Tron has a power meter. It informs the driver about the actual power flow, as well as the fuel level in the hydrogen tank and the level of battery charge. The screen in the center console also provides an overview of power consumption. Owners of electric cars might ask themselves why they should switch to a fuel cell-powered one. The answer is quite simple. Fuel cell-powered cars have a long range, in this case around 500 kilometers, and are easily refueled. Filling up a hydrogen-powered vehicle takes around 3 minutes, whereas you need 2 to 3 hours to recharge an electric car.
Braucht man schon 2 oder auch 3 Stunden. Zum Schluss mein Fazit.
Klaus would like to think, imagine that, in 10 or 15 years' time, a car like this could cost less than a gas or diesel-powered one. At least he hopes that will be the case.
Als ein Benziner oder Diesel. Es wäre zumindest wünschenswert.
It's still unclear how much such fuel cell vehicles will cost. Valuable materials like platinum are needed to make the fuel cells, and the cars will only be produced in small numbers to start with. So prices are likely to be in line with those of the electric and hybrid cars already on the market. But unlike California, Germany doesn't yet boast many filling stations where people can tank up with hydrogen. At present, there are just 16 in the entire country. That number is expected to increase to around 400 by 2023. But to offer nationwide coverage, Germany would need to have around 1,000 hydrogen refueling stations. Abarth has rolled out a radical new sports version of the Fiat 500. The 695 Biposto weighs in at just 997 kilos and has a 140 kilowatt engine. In addition to the lack of rear seats, there's an optional mechanical limited slip differential and an unsynchronized manual transmission to back up its sporting credentials. The Biposto is essentially a street-legal race car, starting at around 40,000 euros. BMW is giving its 1 Series a facelift, making its trademark twin-kidney grille bolder and the headlights narrower. The idea is to stress the sporting character of this rear-wheel drive competitor of the VW Golf. Fuel efficiency was also a priority. An 85 kilowatt engine powers the new 116D efficient dynamics model with just 3.4 liters of diesel in the new European driving cycle. CO2 emissions are rated at 89 grams per kilometer. The Toyota Prius hybrid is one of the best-selling cars on the planet, and the plug-in version is the flagship of the family. The spacious cargo space measures 443 liters, a minimal 2 liters less than the regular edition, and with the seats down, over 1,500 liters. The charger cable is stored in the load area. The charger outlet is on the right of the exterior. The Prius plug-in hybrid can be charged up on any household socket in 90 minutes. Its range in all-electric mode has been up to around 25 kilometers. Maximum combined range is now over 1,200 kilometers. And on electric power alone, the plug-in hybrid can reach speeds of 85 kilometers per hour. As long as the electric motor is running, it's a very quiet ride, says our car man Matas Korat. Once the gasoline engine kicks in, there's a slight growl, but he still doesn't feel as if it's suddenly going to whoosh off. It's all a bit slow going. At first glance, the driver's area is nice and tidy enough, but kind of old school. The digital display is reminiscent of those old radio alarm clocks from the 1970s. And that's not the only problem. Toyota itself boasts of the interior's superior ergonomics. Frankly, Matas feels a bit lost here, thanks to the arrangement of the knobs and buttons. Rather unfortunate, as he puts it.
Unglücklich, sagen wir mal so. Zum Beispiel die Sitzheizung, die ist
The heating for the seats, for example, is in front and way down, so you have to lean over forward to turn it on or off. Not ideal.
Das hätte man bestimmt besser lösen können.
The steering wheel and seat positions doesn't seem to accommodate slightly taller people. Matas is sitting some distance from the wheel because his feet are aligned with the pedals, but the wheel will only move further away. The 1.8-liter plug-in hybrid we tested is rated at 2.1 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. The output of the combustion engine and electric motor combined is 100 kilowatts. Clocking 10.8 seconds for the run up to 100 kilometers per hour, it's anything but speedy. But then there are its green credentials. With CO2 emissions of just 49 grams, it's the cleanest of its class. Meanwhile, the suspension is on the mushy side, although that's not necessarily because this is the plug-in version. The steering is fairly effortless, but devoid of proper road feel. Matthias's trip is almost over, so what's his overall impression? In Germany, this plug-in hybrid Prius costs around 10,000 euros more than the regular edition. According to Toyota, that investment will save you 1.8 liters of gas per 100 kilometers. Fuel economy is officially just 2.1 liters per 100 kilometers instead of 3.9. That's a pretty big price difference for a relatively low fuel saving. So Matthias would rather recommend the normal hybrid as opposed to the plug-in. The fuel saved by the latter doesn't pay off for some 350,000 kilometers, and that's not including the cost of charging up.
Und da sind Stromkosten für das Anschließen an der Steckdose noch gar nicht eingerechnet.
Reinhold Deisenhofer says the Seat Leon ST is more stylish than VW's Golf variant and sportier than Skoda's Octavia Combi. The X-Perience variant of the Leon ST offers 3 centimeters more clearance, all-wheel drive, and plastic underbody cladding. Now he's going to see what it can do on the street and light terrain. The new Leon X-Perience is Seat's way of saying it doesn't always have to be an SUV. Its off-road appearance also looks at home on city streets. From a technical standpoint, it has a lot in common with the VW Golf. But in comparison with the Golf, the Leon is sportier and appeals to the emotions. The additional clearance has taken nothing away from its dynamic handling on curves. The X-Perience is a special model Leon which boasts top-quality equipment. The body is beefed up with molding for a more rugged look, while inside it features all-wheel drive connected to a Haldex clutch. Once the X-Perience leaves the smooth asphalt, it puts in a decent showing off-road. Reinhold believes the word experience connotes adventure and says adventures are better talked about than personally had. The Leon X-Perience will most often be used for runs to school or work and maybe for an occasional trip into the mountains. And if the chalet lies a bit far off the beaten track, the X-Perience can handle steep inclines surprisingly well. The additional clearance is very welcome on rough terrain, gravel roads, and slopes. The X-Perience can even edge down steep hills without giving the driver panic attacks. We tested the strongest diesel engine with 135 kilowatts and a 6-speed DSG transmission. It accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in a decent 7.1 seconds and reaches a top speed of 224 kilometers per hour. It consumes just 4.9 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. The suspension ensures a comfortable ride, even over uneven ground. Reinhold confirms that it feels steady, yet when he takes the curves with a bit more speed, the front axle feels somehow different. He cites 2 reasons. 1, the all-wheel drive allocates the power between the rear and front axles according to need. 2, the X-Perience has a differential lock that strives to keep the varying speeds on the front, right, and left wheels in sync. It provides a feeling of better grip that's especially nice on wet pavement, snow, and ice. From the outside, the additional clearance is immediately apparent. The wheel arches are framed by black plastic cladding, which gives the design more of a practical off-road look. The black plastic skirting contrasts with the painted surfaces at the rear as well. The cargo space is a respectable 587 liters, which more than doubles to 1,470 liters with the easy back release rear seats down. The folding midgate is practical for carrying long objects like skis. The X-Perience logo graces the steering wheel, and orange stitching sets a colorful accent. The dashboard controls make for a tidy impression. And the multimedia unit is accessible over a 5.8-inch screen in the center console. The seats provide good lateral support for a comfortable ride. In Germany, the normal station wagon with the strongest diesel engine starts at just over 30,000 euros. If you want the all-wheel drive version, you'll need to buy the X-Perience, which costs 2,750 euros more. Feinhold points out that the X-Perience is a bit pricier than the Seat Leon without the X, but for that you get an outdoor vehicle with a stylish appearance. And this is one of Seat's main advantages over its competitors, who all too often flaunt their wares with the charm of a used car salesman. 1986, the year a legend was born. It's one of the best performing motorsport models ever, the idol of an entire generation. The first BMW M3. It could go anywhere, dirt road or racetrack. The Beamer M3 was designed in both motorsports and road-going models. Under the hood was an optimized 4-cylinder engine that had already scored successes for the BMW 1800 Ti in the 1960s. The J-Sport company is based in Cologne. Normally, its staff customize Toyotas, but managing director Gerald Boninger has a personal attachment to the early Beamer M3s. What he loves about the M3 is, for one, that it's a proper motorsports car, and shows it, with its flared fenders. And it was the last car built for both purposes. Nowadays, all he sees is wannabe racing cars or actual racing cars that only vaguely resemble a production car. That's the attraction of the M3. It's just as suitable for doing your shopping on Saturday as for driving a few laps on the Nürburgring.
Samstag seinen Einkauf tätigen, aber genauso gut über die Nordschleife mal schnell fahren.
The earliest M3s were quite easygoing on regular roads. Its 215 horsepower engine enabled top speeds of 245 kilometers an hour. In the 1980s, it practically had the fast lane to itself. Gerald Boninger has a 1987 M3 in very good condition. He describes it as a Cecotto replica DTM car. Johnny Cecotto was also a Grand Prix motorcycle champion, and he's most impressed that someone could race both motorcycles and cars. The Venezuelan star's first German touring car's victory was in 1989 in an M3. Between 1987 and 1992, the M3 won 2 European Touring Car Championships, 2 German titles, and several other international competitions. Over 1,500 victories with more than 50 championship titles in 7 years made the Beamer M3 the world's top touring car. Nowadays, an M3 in pristine condition can be had for around 30,000 euros. The engine may not have the best pickup at lower revs, but on the racetrack, it more than holds its own. On city streets, too, it's a faithful workhorse. The BMW M3, legend on the road and racetrack.